Okay, we'll talk about number 2 right here, finding function values. So earlier we defined what a function is. Now we evaluate and find the value of the function. The definition is the statement is, for a function f, we use x to represent an arbitrary input, and f of x read as f of x, or f at x, or the values of f at x to represent the corresponding output. Remember, like we just talked earlier, domain, range. Domain is input, range is output. So input is something like x right here, and output is the range, and we use the notation f of x for the range, and it's the output. And don't confuse when you see this notation f of x. It does not mean f times x. Should not be read that way. It means f at x, or f of x, or the value of f at x. Okay, just like the example given as students. What is the output? A student has only one ID. Okay, let's start with example. Find the function values. G of t equal to absolute value of t minus 1, and we find g at 4, right? G of something, this case f of something. This is just notation, okay? It can be f of x, g of x, h of x, but we just use f of x here for the description, but it could be g of x as well, okay? So find the function value of g of t. So find g at 4, or g of 4, or find the value of g at 4, okay? And same thing right here, find g at minus 1, find g at phi a, okay? Or find the range at domain 4, find the range at domain -1, find the range g at the domain phi a. Alright, solve a solution for part 8, g of 4. To solve this, you substitute this value right here, 4, into the variable, okay? Do you see that? Let me start with this. Given g of t is equal to absolute value of t minus 1, right? So when you replace when you replace t with 4, you would substitute 4, the value 4, to t, okay? They correspond, okay? So absolute value of 4 right here, substitute 4 right here, minus 1. Simplify, we get 4 minus 1, which is absolute value of 3. And absolute values of a positive number is that positive number, which is 3. For part B, g of -1, similarly, you replace -1 to t, okay? The correspondence right here. So -1 for t, subtract 1, simplify. -1 subtract 1 is negative of 2, -2. Now, absolute value of a negative number is negative of this number. So the answer is 2. Negative times negative is positive 2. For part C, phi g at phi a. So you substitute the inside, the input, to t, okay? Right here, the input to t. So we have phi a to t, subtracts 1. Simplify, we have absolute value of phi a, subtract 1. Now a is a variable, and we don't know what it is, so we leave the absolute value as this form, and this is the simplified form already. We cannot do anything else, all right?